I watched the Justin Baldoni episode of the Gents Talk podcast today, and my biggest takeaway is that Justin having to work with Blake Lively and deal with her husband is the equivalent of casting pearls before swine. After hearing him talk about himself and the way that he moves through the world and how he's trying to live his life and how he's trying to use his life, quite frankly, I thought back to the voice note. And there was a lot of discourse about what it meant and what he was doing and whether it was appropriate and all that and blah, blah, blah. And I'll admit that my initial response to it was that it felt to me like he was fawning in the face of a threat. And I still think that there is some truth to that. But after listening to this podcast, what I realize is that he was trying to do for Blake what he does for himself. There's a part in the podcast where he's talking about how whenever he finds an insecurity or an anxiety or a fear inside of himself, what he does is realize that there's a place in him that needs some love. And rather than beat the hell out of himself for not being perfect, that he then tries to love on that part of him. And I think that what he was doing in that voice note to Blake, having clearly recognized her insecurities and perhaps taken into account the things that she said happened to her on previous sets, he was trying to encourage her and love on her so that he could get the best work out of her and so that she could get the best work out of herself. And while that has been, I think, misinterpreted a lot on the interwebs by people who are unfamiliar with the situation, unfamiliar with him, unfamiliar with how actors work, unfamiliar with how directors sometimes need to work with actors, there's a lot of chatter that doesn't really have anything to do with what was really going on. So he clearly recognized her own anxieties about her performance and more deeply about herself. So in the process of making this film, he was busy trying to make sure that everybody was okay, that everybody got what they needed, while she was busy trying to figure out how she could take everything, how she could get more stuff for herself. And Samir asks him a question. I don't remember what the question was specifically, but Justin's answer was something to the effect of, he would rather risk losing everything than to abandon himself. And what that says to me is he's very clear on the type of person that he wants to be. And he's not going to let anybody pull him off of his square, which is amazing and commendable. And in this instance, quite the Herculean feat. So while Blake and Ryan were castigating him for being nice, trying to take what was his, this movie and the next one, he was busy trying to use his very life to espouse the values that he believes in, to uplift others, even those who are trying to take something from him, clearly, so that he could have a positive impact on humanity. If this is not the type of person that we need at this time in human history, I don't, what in the world?